Assalamu alaikum, dear students. Today, I am going to discuss on a topic of Chapter 2, Consumers and Producers Behavior. In Chapter 2, we have come to know about demand law, and today I will discuss on the some exceptions of law of demand. So, to discuss on the exceptions of the law of demand, first we need to know what do you understand by law of demand. This law states that other factors being constant, price of goods and services and their quantity demanded are inversely related to each other. So, other factors being constant means what? Other factors means suppose consumers' income, price of relative products like a substitute or complementary goods price, then weather, time. These all the things are included in other factors, and remaining other factors being constant, we find in law of demand that in general there is inverse relationship between the price of goods and services and its quantity demanded for these goods and services. They are inversely related. That means in the law of demand, we find two variables. One is price and another one is quantity of demand. As quantity of demand for price of goods depend on price change, that's why price is independent variable and quantity of demand is dependent variable. As quantity of demand varies depending on price change. So price changes automatically so that it is independent variable and quantity demand is dependent variable. So according to the law of demand, we get or we find an inverse relationship between these two variables. That is when price rises, quantity demand for products or services falls. And when price of goods and services falls, then quantity demanded for that products rises. This is a general relationship. Okay, so today our topic is exceptions of law of demand. That means we find some exceptions where these law of demand cannot be followed. So from law of demand we find that there is independent and dependent two variables where they are inversely related. Say when the price of the product falls, when we find that product price falls, then we have a hurry to buy that product. We rush to buy those products as product price falls. So the demand for the product rises. And when the price of the product rises, then we have less interest to buy that product, and then we do not rush for the to buy those products, and so the demand for that falls. So we find that this relationship in general in law of demand, that people have more interest for the product when its price is low, and people has relatively lower interest when the product price is high. So let us see the exceptions. There are some issues we will find where we will see that that law of demand cannot be followed. There are some exceptions like number 1 for given goods, number 2 for Veblen goods, 3 ignorance of consumers, fourth subject is change in taste and fashion, number 5 goods of emergency or necessity, future change in price, that is people's expectation of future price change. Then change in the price of substitute goods, change in income of consumers. So these are some exceptions we will find, and I'm going to discuss on that. Sorry. So number one, let us discuss on given goods. This is one exception of law of demand. So what is given goods? Given goods are special type of inferior goods which do not have any ready substitute, used by very low income group people, which has positive relation with price. These goods are named after Scottish economist Sir Robert Giffen. So when you say about Giffen goods, we think how this is the name of the good, Giffen good. Actually, the situation is observed by the Scottish economist Sir Robert Giffen. So these goods are named after this economist's name, so that it is called Giffen goods. So he observed that in Ireland, some very poor people, they depend on a very inferior good, that is potato, that general people often do not buy. So these very poor people, they depend on a very poor farmer, they depend on this potato. And when potato price increases, they cannot switch to other product because it has no ready substitute. This potato has no ready substitute that gives them such calorie like potato. So that though price of the potato increases, they have no other option, so that they buy potato. So in law of demand, we find that when product price increases, we buy less of that. But for given goods, very poor people, the product on which they depend, though price of that product rises, they still uh, keep buying that product because it has no substitute. So these are called given goods where law of demand cannot be followed. Next, this is Veblen good. This is also like given good. It is named after an economist, uh, American economist Thorstein Veblen. Uh, Veblen good is a type of exclusive luxury good named after the American economist Thorstein Veblen. He observed that demand for Veblen good increases as the price increases due to its status symbol, or by the belief that higher price means higher quality, such as expensive jewelry, uh, according to the picture, expensive car, watch. Okay, so this is actually a portion of rich people. They are used to buy the high prices product, to they think that it increases their prestige and dignity in society, so that when price rises, they buy more of that product. So in that cases also, we see that law of demand cannot be followed, because in law of demand we find that in general, when price of the product rises, we buy less of that product. But for Veblen goods, those portion of rich people, when prices of the product increases, they buy more of that, because they find that it increases their prestige in society. Okay, next is for change in taste and fashion. Here, suppose, let us see some costumes here, some dresses here. Suppose these are old fashioned clothes. Suppose these are old fashioned clothes. So for old fashioned clothes, if prices falls for these clothes, people have less interest to buy those clothes, because they are not fascinated to this old fashioned cloth. So though price of this product falls, people are buying less of this. So price is falling, but people are buying less of this. So here also we do not find that law of demand is being followed. Then another exception is ignorance of consumers. Here consumer is ignorant about the substitute product of the considered product. So when the price of product increases, they cannot switch to, or they cannot move to proper or perfect substitute goods because they do not have idea where these substitute goods are available or how is the quality which can be perfect as substitute. They have less information or they are ignorant about the substitute goods, and also they may be haunted by a phobia that high prices means high quality, low prices means low quality. So for this ignorance of consumers, we find that for them, for this type of consumers, law of demand cannot be followed, as they do not know about the substitute goods. When price of any product rises, they still buy that goods because they do not have proper information about substitute goods. Also, another thing is that when price rises, they think quality increases, so that they buy more of that. So this is ignorance of consumers. One point can be as a exception of law of demand. Now, goods of emergency, suppose medicine. Goods of necessity, suppose salt. Suppose salt. So we see that goods of emergency, suppose medicine. When a person is sick, then he has to depend on doctor medicine. So if medicine price rises, though to to be healed, that patient must buy that medicine. It is not like that if medicine's price is low, then the patient will buy more of that and take that. Not like that. Medicine, it has to be taken according to prescription. So whatever the price, a consumer has to buy that amount. That is medicine. That is emergency goods where law of product cannot be followed. Next, salt. Salt is the very necessary, it is a good of necessity because every day we need salt. Without salt, we cannot make our food, make our meal. So for the salt also, whatever the price, we buy this salt. So if price rises, though we buy salt. So in this case, law of demand cannot be followed. That means for the goods of emergency and necessity. Then change in income. Uh, Here I want to mention again that in law of demand, when you say law of demand, we in the definition also we are used to say that when other factors being unchanged. So there other in other factors there is consumers income also. So when there is change in income, that means other factors are not being fixed. There is change in income. In this case also, we find exception of law of demand. Suppose product price and consumers income, both are rising, both are increasing, but the rate price has increased for the product. If consumers income increases more than that rate, that is income increases more than price increases, then the consumer can buy more of the product though price of the product increases, because consumers income increased more than the price rises. So that the same thing for when price becomes lower, and if consumers income gets lower than the price decreases, then consumers cannot buy more of that commodities because consumers income decreases more than the price of the product decreases. So in that case, the law of demand, that is there is inverse relationship between price of product and quantity demanded, it cannot be followed. Now, change in the price of substitute goods. Suppose there are two substitute goods, tea and coffee. Tea can refresh us, coffee also can refresh us. So, in general, what consumers do, if price of any product increases, then they switch to uh, substitute goods to use. But if the situation is like that, prices of tea increases as well as prices of the substitute good coffee prices also increases. In that case, the consumers of tea, it will not be possible for them to switch to the use of coffee because coffee prices also increase along with tea prices increase. So when the considered product and its substitute products, both products price increases, in that case, though the considered products price increases, then consumers still stick on that product to buy because substitute goods price also increases. So in this case, we see that law of demand cannot be followed. That is, we do not find inverse relationship between price of the product and quantity demanded. Next point is future change in price. So when people have this anticipation that in future price of product will increase, in that case, though in higher price of product, people will buy more because they have fear that in future price of the product will increase more, though at present the existing price also high. So at higher price also people will buy more because they are thinking that in future price will increase more, so that at present higher price they are buying more. And also the same thing, when price is low, then they are uh, postponing their purchasing because they have a expectation that in future price will reduce more, so that they are waiting to buy in future when price will uh, decrease more, though at present price is low. So in this case also we find that a law of demand cannot be followed. So these are the some points we have found where law of demand cannot be followed. These are called exceptions of law of demand. So hope you have understood today up to this. Thank you very much, all of you. See you in the next video. Thank you.